Meeting to order, please. Trustee Rubin. Yes. Trustee Hallwax
Here.
and Trustee Mealopoulos.
Here.
All right, just for the record,
Yes.
Trustee Hallwax is joining remotely in accordance with the village's remote meeting policy, but we have an in-person quorum, so we're good.
All right, so Joe is allowed to vote because
Correct.
he is in accordance with the policies traveling for work. And thank you for joining us. And thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate it. All right, so this is the part of the meeting where anybody wants to make a public comment. Now is the time. Seeing none. We'll go on. We get a motion about our minutes, either comments or a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the minutes are adopted. Thank you, which brings us to our review of our monthly financials, please.
Thank you, Trustee Rubin. Tonight, we're going to be reviewing our June treasurer's report and go over the fund highlights. We'll also be going through the community investment program updates, as we usually do. And then we also have a review of the 2026 lead service line cost share program update that'll be part of the CIP update. And then a discussion and review of the Village of Glencoe financial policies. Just two things to know and bring to your attention before I go through my presentation. Page 27 of the Finance Committee packet is the cash balances sheet. There is a larger cash balance in our North Shore Community Faith and Trust account currently because of board checks that are going to be if the board approves them on Thursday, will be cut Friday and sent out. One of the reasons why we're holding a larger amount of cash is because there was a larger payment to W.B. Olson for completed golf club renovation work. So that bank balance will drop down after Thursday. Page 34 through 40 is the financial projection spreadsheets. And I just wanted to point out that we now have audited fund balances since the audit has been complete, and so those have been updated for you. So we're talking about our June treasurer's report. We should have a 50% target for revenues and expenditures. Property taxes are more than prior year by 2.2 million and at 64.4% of budget. If we take out those property taxes that were accrued back to 2025, we are less than the prior year by $78,000 and at 48.4% of budget.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
Do we think the county is still holding some of our money that they have collected for the first bill this year?
It's hard to tell. The receipt in June was 421,000. And the note that very brief note that they put on the electronic message sent to Director Larson, it basically said it's 425, 425 tax levy and some 24 and additional previous years. So it's still not very specific, and I don't quite know if they're done this first in the
That
first
is pretty
installment.
common though. What she's describing is pretty common because you have tax refunds that are settling out throughout the year. So it is common for prior years to settle with the current year. My suspicion, to answer your question, is that they don't even know if they're holding money of ours.
Yes.
Because they're still going through the reconciliation process.
Let me ask you another way. Do we think that our property owners are not timely, or at least close to timely, paying all of their property taxes?
Oh, no, I think they are.
Because I think most people that want to challenge them will pay them as opposed to not pay a challenge, because if you lose, the penalties are huge.
Mhm.
So that's why I said, if we're actually not collecting everything we thought we would, that's weird and ought to be looked at.
And well,
And
I
maybe
don't
it's
think
too
it's
early to do it.
an issue with people not paying. What will happen is that distributions will come in less than what they should because you have people that win challenges. And what the county will do is deduct it right from your distribution. So say you win $5,000 back. they will take that right out of our next distribution. So the net distribution to us comes in as less.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. That's very helpful.
And then now with the new legislation, they'll come back in the fall, the following fall. And they'll look at those 12 months and say, how much did we deduct from you? Now we're going to add that onto your levy next year. Which is good. It's just delayed.
Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you. It's good explanation. Thank you. So we are still waiting on the county reporting. It has not been updated yet. And still, there's expected to be a 2-month delay for the second installment bills to be sent out. Nothing new from last month. State income tax is more than prior year by $24,000 at 57.8% of budget, so that's good. Sales tax is more than prior year by $97,000. March sales are at 47.6% of budget, so that's also good. And then we have a number of items: property tax, sales tax, food and beverage tax, utility tax, use tax, garbage service fees, and sewer charges that were both higher than prior year and the monthly budget. I will note that the garbage service fees is only higher because they did not timely pay last month, so we got 2 distributions in jail. We're trying to get them more on a regimented schedule. For the expenditures for general fund, they are less than prior year and only at 39.8% of budget. Our annual revenue projection for the general fund is $3 million. Excuse me. Proud of my notes. It's $3 million with the 2025 property tax distribution and building permit increased revenue there. Without that 25 property tax receipt, we're at $826,000 over. For the fund surplus deficit with expense and revenue, we're at general fund at 1.3 million. We have a planned drawdown of $2.2 million for capital expenditure. Without the 25 tax receipts, we're at $907,000. And fund reserves at month end are at $17 million, which is 58.2%, well above our policy. For the water fund, volumetric revenue was higher than prior year at 34.4% of budget. It's approximately $65,000 higher than prior year. For the fixed charge, higher than prior year also, but only at 41.2% of budget and $14,000 higher than prior year. Again, these revenues will jump higher and higher as we get into more of the billing of the spring and summer months. Expenditures are more than prior year, but only at 43.6% of budget. And then the revenue only performance is approximately $210,000 above the budget. We're looking at our expenditures and revenues. The water fund is positive $2.6 million because of the planned bond proceeds that we just received. And our planned drawdown for 2026 is 1.8 million. Fund reserves at the end of the month of 4.1 million, which is 72%. And I will turn it over to. Sorry, I didn't see you sit down. I'll turn this over to Stella for our golf fund update, and then we'll go through some pictures as well.
Thank you. So June was not fabulous month. We were short on revenue, pretty much in line with the driving range not being open and golf academy. We did make up for that in payroll savings, so it was a positive month with all the expense savings that we had. And rounds were pretty much in line with budget. The clubhouse update, we have made a lot of progress. So ComEd has established permanent power. It's a big step. Drywall and taping are underway, as well as the millwork. The masonry work on the interior has also begun, and the roof work is nearly complete. Floor tiling has begun in the kitchen and bathrooms, as well as some painting in the lower level. And the final landscaping of the parking lot is ongoing. We'll look at those pictures in a minute. And then the driving range, the netting that was approved, we are getting our poles delivered tomorrow. And it'll probably take a month to get everything in place. So we're hoping for a grand opening mid-August. Everybody is very excited to be able to get that driving range. And then if you want to pull those pictures up, I can talk you through that. So this is the kitchen, the tiling on the floor is almost complete. One of the hoods is in place. This is the bathroom. This doesn't do it justice. It's really pretty tile. And they did start doing some of the painting as well. So this is one of the larger bathrooms. We have a men's and a ladies that are larger, as well as 2 single stalls. And this is the bar area. And you can see they're starting to do the drywall and the interior stone in this picture. And that's it.
The tank that was removed and all the testing, et cetera, where are we on that?
We had to submit a follow-up report, so it was called a lust report for leaking underground storage tank. We submitted all the paperwork to the state. It's just a process of them finalizing and closing it out. But basically, the amount of contamination that was detected after the removal was below tolerable amounts, but still detectable. So we had to report.
You had a report, but you didn't have to do further remediation.
No further remediation. The report, we did get assistance from a consultant on those documents and throwing it out. So there's additional support that we're seeking from the environmental consultant, but no further construction activity
Okay.
required.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
I know ongoing testing of phase 2. Okay, good.
Oh.
So-called phase 2 stuff, but, and what was in the tank? What did they say was in the tank? Was it
I think it might have been a old fuel tank.
old fuel tank?
Yeah.
It was,
They didn't
It
really
was empty,
pinpoint it.
but-
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
if
from
it-
like
as
the
long as it was fuel,
1950s.
yeah, no, that's not unusual. As
Yeah,
long as it was
very
fuel,
old,
that's
very
not
old.
usually that problem.
They had a specific date in the report
Okay,
that
sure.
because was it 71? I can't remember, but
If
if
it's
it
before
wasn't
that.
registered, so they're basically saying if it
Right.
wasn't registered,
It had to be
it's
before
typically
that, yeah.
installed before the state.
Okay. Great, can't wait. Yes.
I know permitting has come up, not recently. I'm curious, have we wrapped up any of these like permitting amendments?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are expecting to hear back on a second round of permit revisions with MWRD this week. We're hopeful that it's this week. I think the formal deadline is next week on the 21st. But this is the second round. We've talked extensively with our engineering team. They run the concept and what they were going to submit by the team, so they feel confident that we will get approval on the revision for the second round with MWRDs.
Connections.
There was some modifications to the north detention pond, based on some field conditions that happened in site, and then it also included the modifications to the parking lot, so there was kind of a twofold update there. And then once we have the MWRD permit, we just need to resubmit to Cook County. That's the only last outstanding item from Cook County, as we understand it. So we've been tracking those comments, getting everything else resolved, just waiting to resubmit until we have them.
Inspections.
Inspections are ongoing. Yeah,
How are our building inspections going? Our, we inspect the villages and spoken,
so
also getting your consultant.
the village is health, safety and fire. So a lot of those inspections, we've been coordinating with our inspectors, prepping for those. I don't think any of those have officially been called in yet. More so a lot of questioning coordination on the fire, because we are installing those emergency management fire detection systems. But I think
The building's being run by the county.
correct. Yes, so, yeah.
They can want to do all those
They-
maps and all that.
They
stuff?
do, yes. So there's been a lot of coordination with them. It will continue to be an interesting path forward with them. They've identified one item of additional emergency light.
They're requesting 4 additional emergency lights.
Yeah.
In the main dining room.
Yeah, and it's just kind of the nature of if they ask for it. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah,
Gotta get the electrician back in. But
correct.
They're moving along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Forward, you're not
I
running
think-
roadblocks.
you know, we've been moving, I feel like, while it can be challenging in Cook County, I think we're confident in being able to continue to move forward on the project. There's nothing substantial.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
The next, the next review is for our debt service, NFT capital funds and personnel. Debt service hasn't changed since we just made our interest payments in May for June. Capital project expenditures are at 35.3% of budget, which that's a $15 million budget, so you can start to see that percentage ramping up as we're paying more on the bills for the golf club renovation. MFT, there's starting to be some expenditure there. We're at 14.4% of budget. Our pension funds are right on target at 51% for police and 50% for fire. And then personnel, you'll see here that there's a large decrease in the pension cost in this chart here, and that is related to the fact that we changed our methodology of funding the police pension this year and having it come all through the property tax bill. We're no longer doing a monthly transfer to the police pension from general fund. And so because of the property tax delays, this number is showing that we're missing those funds, but as soon as we get more tax distributions, that should be adjusted.
And also 6 months worth of monthly distributions that haven't happened.
Yes, correct. And then on our last slide here for inflationary and economic impacts, IT is really seeing a continued trend upward in pricing. Some of the vendors have even put out there, like if you buy something today, if you buy something in October, or if you buy something in December, or maybe next January of 2027, here's how much the price is going to incrementally change. So it might be, in my report, I wrote, if we didn't buy something today and decided to buy it January 1 of 2027, because maybe we have a new budget and we've got new things we want to buy, it could be up to a 50% increase in cost of that item from now until then. So that is a huge increase, and IT is continuing to look at and see what they can move forward with our current budget and really plan those items out. And we're starting to work on the budgets now and starting to really think that through in their budget plan.
Yeah, if we think the price increases are real, obviously we do. If we're relatively confident about that, I wouldn't want to pay 50% more next year because we maxed out our budget for some line item, as opposed to let's bring it to a meeting, change the budget for something in order to save, whatever interest rate you're getting on your money, you're not getting, 10, 20, 40, 50% in 6 months. So, and if we know we need it.
That couldn't be here this evening, but he is working on a big purchase for the August board meeting. We have some storage needs that is part of the network infrastructure upgrades. And then we've talked about doing a bulk order of like laptop replacements or other items that we think are going to skyrocket by them this year as opposed to next.
And then he's also seeing like a 70-day lead time in just delivery of those items if we're purchasing them. So that's a big difference than usual. Public Works is seeing high expenditure costs. This comment came out of they were reviewing their budget in 2026 and where they're currently standing with their budget. And I noticed that materials, equipment, supplies, vehicle maintenance, and fuel are already over 60% used in their budget. And they're going to be expecting to go over their budget by the end of the year. So they're just continuing to monitor those costs and kind of doing the same thing and figuring out what we really need. Commodities are higher than prior year, but right on target at 50% of the budget, and contractual services are higher than prior year, but at 46.3% of the budget. And I'd be happy to answer any questions this evening. If there's none, then I will pass it on to Director Sina to go through the CIP update.
So just a couple updates. The one CIP item going to the village board for approval this month in July is the Wesley Road multi-use path preliminary engineering contract. Title of that is potentially a bit misleading. There's a lot of coordination that we're working into this contract with Christopher Burke Engineering to help us on the front end coordinate with Cook County Forest Preserve on the potential use of their land for this path. So trying to get that coordinated up front, get consensus, also reach out, get public engagement and input from the community before heading into preliminary engineering. This contract should allow for all of those tasks and get us through to the end of the year with continued support. That did come in under budget of what we had for the year. Nikki's already mentioned one of the changes to the timeline is our network and IT infrastructure upgrades. Matt is working on something to present next month, and also our continued sewer lift stations data consulting upgrades. We're scoping that to go out to bid, and we would expect that to be in. Any questions? I guess one other fun update that I just learned is that we're actually taking delivery of the public safety patrol vehicle tomorrow. We were expecting that to be in October, and came pleasantly surprised. So that is a bit of good news.
Excellent.
All right. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the one other agenda item for tonight I wanted to touch on is just a mid-year review of where we're at with our lead service line cost sharing program. So just to take a step back and give some broader context, we still have, I think, 487 lead services within our system. So we submit an annual report to the IEPA talking about the status of lead service lines that remain and what our program looks like in order to accomplish that. We are taking a conservative estimate at 40 lead service line replacements per year, and that will keep us on target with our deadline. Last year, we had 39 participants in the lead service cost sharing program. So we are seeing a decline. Previously, we were seeing about closer to 50 to 60. But we're keeping tabs on it. If you remember, we did increase the budget the past 2 years to I think about 350 or 300, and then we brought it back down to the original 250 amount for this year. So that where we're looking at with that budget, it is going to sustain us, I think, for the remainder of the year. We have 19 new applications and 5 were carried over from last year. And with what has been requested so far, we have about 22% of the budget remaining. But that doesn't mean that much has been paid out. So it's just a process of getting in the queue, earmarking it, and then the actuals kind of vary once the work has been completed. So we're continuously tracking it. I would say we're probably going to recommend the sustained budget going into next year at $250,000. But we are noting what we expected is that participation will be decreasing. So we're going to continue to look at creative ways to encourage residents to continue to participate and make sure that we are hitting that target of 40 lead service line replacements per year.
Just to recap the laws, right? In the 10 years, they only need to do so people aren't voluntarily doing it on time or by that.
20 years for us.
20, 40, that was.
Because we're the size, because the
Oh,
size.
size, okay.
I thought it was like 2040 or something.
So your 10 years
It's for,
2042.
well, it has been proposed. I don't think it's been finalized and accepted. So there has been a 10-year timeline that has been proposed,
Right.
but is not officially adopted yet. So that 10-year looms, but it is not the actual deadline that we're working
20 years,
towards.
but hopefully we're done in 10. I guess we'll cross the bridge at 10 years if we
There-
have any left.
Correct. There are, I think, stepping back again, in Glencoe, the resident owns the entire water service line. So, we've asked IEPA, how do we approach this when it's the village's responsibility to replace the service line? However, we don't have financial responsibility for that asset. We haven't gotten clear instructions. We've been happy with how we've been moving forward on the lead service line cost sharing program. I will say, even last year we had 9 emergency lead service line replacements. These service lines are old, they tend to fail. And through our leak detection system, we found leaks and push them through the program. So I would assume, we'll continue to get that, but to your point, at the end, we're going to have to figure out what the right approach is. So
Based on guidance.
yeah,
Okay.
there's no perfect solution right now is everybody participates, but
We're on the right track, right?
we are on a good
In a
track.
way,
Yeah.
It's one closer.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
One of the other things I wanted to touch on too, is, you know, looking at this program overall, we talk about our resident participation, but we do have commercial properties, who have some residential use above them, who have also expressed an interest in participating in the program. The original language as adopted talked about any property owner, so we have including residential or commercial properties in the program as well.
All our schools are up to date, right?
Correct, schools are good. Mhm. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Anyone? So in front of you, I've printed out red lines, versions of the village's financial policies. Thank you. As you recall, this is really kind of the first step to kicking off the village's budget process. Every year we take a look at potential changes to our financial policies, and this is really what guides our budget going forward. So these are some proposed revisions that some of which we've talked about previously, some of which are just recommendations from staff. For you to review discussion tonight. That's not to say that this will be the last discussion on it. And certainly if you think of anything else, feel free to let us know. So the first one that I wanted to highlight is the property tax levy change, in accordance with the village's annual change. We did agree to continue to abide by PTEL. The property tax extension limit would allow the property tax levy to increase by 2.7% this year. That would be for all levy lines, including our police pension levy line, our corporate levy line, and that would exclude any debt. So the 2026 debt that we just issued at the last meeting would not be subject to this cap. And that's all consistent with PTEL. Related to the 2026 debt, we also are amending the property tax abatement policy. So as a reminder, in 2020 and 2023, we issued water alternate revenue bonds. Those have historically been abated. We essentially write to the county, we passed an ordinance that says, please don't levy for these two bond issues. We will pay them back through water revenue instead. In the 2026 bond, we did issue all GO bonds, but we do have the breakdown between what is supposed to be water projects versus non-water projects, which was roughly a 30-70% split on that $10 million bond issue. So we are also recommending that for the 2026 A bonds, we abate any debt service related to that $3 million in water projects. So those repayments would be abated and paid through water revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. We already know that the allowable CPI increase for next year is 2.7.
Yes, so it's the Illinois Department of Revenue determines the CPI increase, and it's the general CPI increase from December to December. And it's prior year. So it's through December of 25. So it's from 24 to
So
25.
it's lagging.
Yes,
Okay.
it is always lagging. It's a common theme with property taxes, everything's lagging.
Including collection and payment.
Yes. So, okay, anything else on property taxes? Okay. On management fees, you may recall last year, we did do a large increase in management fees for the golf club, anticipating the new opening and all of the new revenue that Stella is going to make off of her beautiful range, and the golf course. So we are committed to reevaluating this every year. So that would be part of the budget discussions when we talk about fee income. Fees and charges for service. We do have some special needs that will be coming up in the 2027 budget that will force us to take a greater look at this. We do a comprehensive fee and fine survey every year. We take a look at what our surrounding communities charge. But we also take an internal look to make sure that we are covering the costs and services that we provide to the best of our ability. So that will again be part of our process this year. With IRMA and IPVC surplus, we still have a good amount of IRMA excess surplus funds, just shy of $2 million. We've been drawing down on that every year between $250,000 to $350,000 just to supplement our annual premium payment. That is something that would be available again to us this year that we could do. We've also been funding safety-related projects out of that. We just drew down, I think you probably saw in some of our updates, we just drew down about $60,000 to replace one of the mechanical lifts in the PW garage, and we use that for safety-related projects. So we'll also be evaluating any of the 2027 budgetary requests for anything that could qualify for drawing down that reserve. We do have a minimum reserve in IRMA of about $300,000 that we want to maintain at all times to draw upon if we have a large claim. We also helped with that reserve last year by reducing our deductible down to $25,000. So that should give us a little bit of an extra buffer there as well. Similar story with our IPVC. Our IPVC is our purchasing cooperative for our health insurance. Right now, we do have sufficient reserves there. We are looking at some significant increases in health insurance premiums for next year. We already know the initial estimates could be as high as 20% increases on our premiums. So we are looking at different options to evaluate ways to bring that down, whether they're plan design changes or just overall modifications. But I don't anticipate us using reserve funds for that, but there may be other items that we fund out of that, such as wellness programming. So we will look at that again this year if there's anything that we can supplement out of the IPVC reserve.
When it comes to health insurance and those types of benefits, I know that sometimes the sky is falling and I tell you it's 20%. Hopefully it won't be at the end of the day, but it might. But those are the kinds of ones that whether it's private or public, et cetera, it's just spread out everywhere because of the losses that they take into everything, not just related to health. You know, the reinsurance markets have a huge effect on it. But the bottom, just my personal view, it's just my personal view as one trustee. I think that those benefits are extremely important. And we ought to do, when we're figuring out our budgets, what we need to do to not make them either, grossly more expensive for our folks who work for us, and try to keep the benefits and figure out how to pay for them separately. Because I think they're important that we're doing something which I doubt, like, oh my gosh, we're doing something that we're not charging anybody for any health insurance. Everybody else for stuff. So we're not doing anything silly like that. That's fine. But I don't think we've looked at this stuff so often. I don't think that's the case. So I'm happy to see what other people are doing, see how we compare, and saying we can't share the burden somewhat with everybody. But again, just as one person's view on it. Those are really important. When it comes up, it makes a real difference to people's lives.
Sure. And I think that's good feedback. It's good to know. What we're seeing is, we are part of this purchasing cooperative where we're buying health insurance along with a number of other communities. We're seeing both the market for health insurance in general going up, a lot of pressure with prescription drugs, especially the GLP-1 usage. But also the village's experience individually, our claims experience is driving that number a little bit. One of the things that we're doing internally is having focus groups with the various employees throughout the village to talk through what these increases might mean for them. Other ideas that they might be open to making changes to the plan so that we can get feedback from all angles before we make a recommendation to the board.
Very good.
That's good feedback.
It's a thoughtful way to do it. Thank you.
Pass this one. Some housekeeping here. When the village went to a budget officer system last year, we're still in the process of cleaning up the code that should be coming before you in August. But we did adopt a budget officer system, and in doing so, we did eliminate the appropriations system. So just cleaning that up in the policy and moving that. On the pension funding, we've talked at length about this, so I'm not going to rehash it. We talked about it last time, but recommending continuing pay as you go on the fire pension fund, and then the committee's pension fund, we're planning on incorporating at the committee's direction the required contribution of just over $3.5 million, which is a 5.7% increase. A few things that we are going to be watching, especially with our pension funding policy. We talked a lot about the potential for tier 2 rollbacks. Nothing has gained traction yet in the legislature, but we are not over that hill. So that's certainly something of some sort is likely to come forward. And when that does happen, we will have to revisit that policy. There's also the potential for changes in census. We've seen this contribution climb over the years, not only just because of salary growth, but also changes in our census. The good news is for the moment, they're very close, full staffing and public safety. I'm afraid to say that out loud. I don't want to jinx anything. But as we have added those positions back, obviously the annual contribution goes up as well. And then lastly, the reason for the printout is I'm recommending that we roll in our investment policy into our financial policies. That's historically been a standalone policy. I'm trying to aggregate as much as we can in one place so you have a reference guide, or anyone has a reference guide of where our financial policies live. We did have an in-depth conversation in May with the village's investment advisor about making modifications to our existing investment policy. For whatever reason, it did not take when we created the packet, but in front of you, I opened up the policy changes to, there are two green sections in the policy changes that I'm recommending. One is to add investment grade corporate bonds rated BBB or higher. The other one is to add asset-backed securities that are rated AAA. And then also to note in our maximum exposure in the investment overall portfolio, not to exceed more than 25% of asset-backed securities, just to avoid that concentration risk. Obviously avoid any crisis in the housing market. We know those prices are inflated right now, so we just want to be cautious. Certainly there's gains to be gained there, but we do want to be conservative and make sure we conserve that principal amount that we've invested. And that's it as far as proposed changes. I'm happy to answer any questions or take any other thoughts on policies that you may want to modify.
Joe, any questions on your end? Hearing none.
No, I'm good.
Okay. With that, thank you. Does anybody have any other business? If not, I would like to just get ahead of something that we've been talking about in our meeting on Thursday, our pre-board meeting on Thursday. We need to hold. As you all, I know you guys are looking at it. We're going to be hearing about the needs of public safety and how those are changing and how village should be thinking about meeting those needs. And so therefore, you all also need to be thinking about, I know you are already, And so I'll be interested, we'll all be very interested in conversation of where you're at in terms of what creative ways there may be to think about paying for meeting those needs, because they're quite substantial in terms of overall percentage increases projected over a 4 or 5 year period in our operating budget. The operating budget is what the board has said they will not just go and, levy no matter what it is. We're just going to levy it without talking to our residents. So if we need to have a conversation at some point in a couple of years or whatever with our residents, I want to make sure we've done everything we can before then to not have that conversation with them.
So what I'm anticipating we're gonna try to do the wake of Thursday night's presentation is to come back to you all actually at this committee next month in August with a more detailed analysis. It's gonna be a bit of a top sheet analysis of the financials on Thursday night. But to come back to you all in August with more of a detailed review of what perhaps there may be alternatives in terms of how we roll something like this out, in addition to looking at some of the revenue side of the ledger as well. So that's our plan at this point. If you're comfortable with that, we will plan to present some of that information in August.
Good. All right. That was the only other business I had. So
That might be a long August meeting, just saying, right?
It's probably going to be a long August
Yeah.
meeting.
Good.
Got a few other
Yeah.
things to talk about that night too, financial forecasts and such.
Yeah, that's a big topic.
Yes.
All right, then if there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.